Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 2, Episode 3, Nervous Man in a $4 Room, written by Rod Serling and starring Joe Mantell as Jackie and John Rhodes, which I will explain in a minute. Now, before I start, I just want to say, I've mentioned before I thought there were Twilight Zones that had great concepts that were only executed okay, and just a couple episodes that didn't have great concepts. I actually don't think that this episode has that interesting of a concept, but I think it's executed pretty well. So overall, it's an okay episode. So I'll get right into it. It starts with a man named Jackie, and he gets a call from another man named George, and you can tell Jackie's very nervous about it. And we're not really sure what the job is, but we can see it's probably something, illegal or not good. So then we get the opening narration. We get to the main point of the episode. George comes in to where Jackie's staying, and Jackie's still really nervous. And we come around to the fact that Jackie obviously works for George, does jobs for him, and George comes into him with the assignment to actually kill an elderly gentleman. Now, Jackie is obviously very freaked out about this. He says, he can't do that. He doesn't have it in him. He's not that kind of person. And George gets really firm with him and tells him he better do it or else he will be disposed of, basically. So we get to the point where George leaves and Jackie's basically talking to himself. And he looks in the mirror and starts, trying to justify what he has to do. And he's flipping out more and more. And then we come to a point of the episode where he turns away from the mirror and is still talking to himself. When he turns back around, he sees himself in the mirror. And it is explained by, I'll just call it the mirror image for now, by the image that he is another part of, of Jackie, a different part of his personality. So basically what this comes down to is, I'm not going to go through, like every little thing that happens, but I'll go through the main points of their conversation. It takes up most of the rest of the episode. So we get to learn about Jackie's past, that from very young, he's been doing these criminal type activities, and they talk about the job he's supposed to do now, and the mirror image doesn't want him to do it, saying, he needs to get his life in order and go in a different direction. They also talk about a girl he used to know and about how, Jackie messed that up because of the kind of jobs he was involved in. And it comes down to the point where the mirror image wants to take over, and become the stronger part of Jackie. So they're still talking about this, and Jackie gets really upset and he spins the mirror around in a pretty good scene, but we never really find out what happens or who takes over as the scene cuts away. So we go to the next scene where George comes back, and it turns out that Jackie didn't do the job. As George says, he's very upset with him, and when Jackie lifts his head, he is now John Rhodes. So we find out that the other personality from the mirror has taken over, and he actually resigns, hits George, and tells him never to come back. So George leaves, and we now have John Rhodes, who looks like he will get his life in order. And we see the old Jackie, in the mirror. So both parts of the character still exist, but it's just that John Rhodes comes out and is the stronger character. So a good ending all in all. Like I said, I don't think the premise was particularly strong, but there's nothing really wrong with this episode. The mirror image, the way they did it with the effects in that are fine. It looks solid, and the acting's okay in this episode. It's a little, stylized, but at the time, that's kind of how these one-man shows went. It might be a little over the top, but it works for the most part. But like I said, the concept of the episode there's only so much you can do with it. It feels, padded in parts again. But overall, it's okay. I do have to say I don't think that Season 2 so far, it's having a hard time living up to what Season 1 did. But I think that's going to change in some upcoming episodes. So overall, this is just another solid average character study episode. And I give Nervous Man in a $4 Room 2.5. I think that's a fair rating. It's a fine episode. It's just not great, but it's okay. So 2.5 out of 5 for A Nervous Man in a $4 Room. And as always, you can give me your thoughts, and thanks for watching.